Huh. You see that mirror over there? Go on. Look into it. That face. Yeah, that one. The one they've laughed at, mocked, doubted, kicked while it was already on the floor bleeding. That's the face of the old version of you. The version that let him talk. That version that smiled when it was dying inside. That let him spit on your loyalty like it meant nothing. But not anymore. No, no, no. Because tonight, I'm gonna show you what they were really scared of. Not your weakness. Oh no. They loved your weakness. It gave them control. Power. They were feeding off it like parasites in a corpse. What scares them, what haunts them, is when you finally stop being the joke. When the clown stops laughing. When the broken toy starts putting itself back together. That's when it gets interesting. See, people don't destroy what they don't fear. They only tear apart what threatens their illusion. And you were a walking mirror to their insecurity. Your pain, yeah, they saw it. They just used it as camouflage for their own. And the best part, you let them. You gave them the weapon, handed it to them, let them swing it again and again. But now you're here, with me, and I don't coddle pain, I twist it. I mold it into something they never saw coming. Something that doesn't beg to be understood. Something that stops trying to be enough for people who were never even close to deserving. Something ruthless. Let me ask you something. You ever see a lion explain itself to sheep? No. It walks. They move. Simple. But you've been talking too much. Explaining your worth. Clarifying your intentions. Apologizing for your anger, your silence, your absence, your reaction to their betrayal. That's over. You were the fire. They treated you like smoke. They acted like your loyalty was disposable. You cried in silence for people who wouldn't even whisper your name when it mattered. You bled for hands that never reached back. That's the joke they made out of you. But now the laugh's on them. Because the silence they once took for weakness is about to become the silence that ends their show. They thought you'd never stop chasing, never stop explaining. But every time they laughed behind your back, every time they said you were too emotional, too intense, too much, they were trying to silence the storm they knew was coming. You were never too much. You were just surrounded by people too little to handle you. And now you give them nothing. No words, no warnings, just evolution. Silent, ruthless, strategic. Let your presence be missed like oxygen. They only notice it when they're suffocating. You want revenge? I'll give you a better word. Dominance. Not loud, not messy, just effective. Let their memory of you haunt them like a joke they can't laugh at anymore. Let every room they walk into remind them of what they threw away. And when they realize they can't replace you, can't copy you, can't recreate you, that's when the fear settles in. That's when your silence becomes a scream in their conscience. That's when the punchline flips. Because now you're the one they fear bringing up. Because your name carries the weight of their regret. They made a joke out of you, all right. But now you're the punchline. Not the kind they laugh at, the kind they choke on. You know what the funniest part is? It wasn't when they laughed at you. It wasn't even when they called you names behind your back, or made little group chats to mock your every move. No, the real joke was that they thought you'd stay the same. That's what kills me. They thought the quiet one, the outcast, the soft voice in the back of the room would never figure it out. That you'd keep showing up, keep giving your all, keep bleeding for people who brought razors, not bandages. They were so confident, weren't they? Confident you wouldn't wake up. Confident you'd keep begging to be seen while they looked right past you. But now, look at you, standing here with fire behind your eyes, not trying to be liked anymore, not seeking permission. And the punchline? Oh, sweetheart, you are the punchline now, but not the way they remember. You're the punchline that burns in their throat every time they hear your name. The one that makes them swallow guilt and regret like poison they brewed themselves. They called you weak, didn't they? Sensitive, overdramatic. Said you were too much while never offering a drop of understanding. You were always there, always. Through their chaos, their breakdowns, their dramas, you stayed. You wiped their tears while drowning in your own. You kept their secrets like a vault, and they broadcast yours like a comedy special. Every time you cracked, they acted like it was entertainment. They never saw the pressure building, did they? Never noticed the slow decay of someone giving too much and receiving nothing but disappointment in return. You were the joke, the emotional one, the one who cared too hard. But now you don't care at all, and that scares them more than your love ever comforted them. They can't reach you now, not because you're far, but because you've finally gone quiet, and people fear silence more than screams, especially when it comes from someone they thought would never stop speaking. You see, most people, they only respect the damage they caused when they realize it's permanent, when they reach out and find no trace of the softness they used to manipulate. That's when they panic. That's when the jokes stop being funny. You want to make someone sweat? Go silent. Let your absence teach the lesson your words never could. Let them sit in the echo of your withdrawal. Don't beg. Don't explain. Don't argue your worth to people who treat you like a side dish. Let them lose access to you. Let them beg the universe for a second chance they'll never get. You became dangerous the moment you stopped explaining yourself. The moment you started building instead of fixing others. They can't mock you anymore, can they? Because what's there to mock when you're busy creating, building, and elevating? Their laughter fades fast when you stop reacting. You've become something they can't predict. And that, my dear, is terrifying. People only miss what they never valued when it becomes valuable to everyone else. You ever notice that? You ever realize how they circle back when others start noticing your worth? Suddenly, you're not annoying anymore. You're inspiring. You're not too emotional. You're deep. You're not quiet. You're mysterious. But you remember. You remember how they saw you when you had nothing. When you gave without limit. When your only crime was loving with your whole chest and expecting maybe, just maybe, they'd treat you with a sliver of that same energy. That version of you is gone now, dead, buried beneath all the broken promises and unkept apologies. And what rose in its place? That's what they fear. They fear the version of you that stopped showing up. That doesn't answer calls. That doesn't explain. Doesn't justify. Doesn't wait around. You became their karma, not because you sought revenge, but because you healed and kept walking. And now they watch your back with the same eyes that once rolled at your presence. You want to know what revenge really looks like? It's not screaming. It's not slamming doors or flipping tables. Real revenge is peace, stillness, not caring anymore. It's doing so well that they choke on every word they used against you. Every time they hear your name, they remember how they fumbled it. You became the reminder that not everyone tolerates disrespect forever. That kindness has an expiration date when it's not mutual. So, let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them create stories to make sense of your glow-up. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them explanation. What you owe is yourself. Yourself, a future free from people who only came around when it was convenient. Yourself, a version that doesn't water down just to be understood. Yourself, every damn thing they said you didn't deserve. Give yourself that, because they never will. So they laughed at you, huh? Made you the clown of their little circus, pushed you to the edge and called it entertainment. They used your silence as weakness, your kindness as a doormat, and your loyalty as a leash. Let me guess. They cracked jokes, spread whispers like wildfire. And you just sat there, taking it, swallowing every disrespect with a fake little smile that said, "It's fine, I can handle it." But deep down, you were dying, weren't you? Yeah, I know that feeling. The slow kind of death. Not the dramatic one, no. I'm talking about the death that happens piece by piece. The death of trust. The death of joy. The death of hope. And each time you gave them another chance, they ripped another piece out of you, till you were nothing but echoes in your own head, screaming for someone to notice the storm they caused. But nobody came. That's the sick joke. They made you the punchline, and now You're the silence they fear. Because when the joke stops laughing, the room gets real quiet. You ever watch a man break without making a sound? No sobbing, no screaming, and just eyes. Dead eyes. That's you now. You don't shout. You observe. You remember. You store the betrayal like ammo, clip after clip, waiting for the day you fire back. Not with noise, but with transformation. That's the beauty of revenge. The real kind. Not the messy blood and bone kind of thing. No. I'm talking about the kind where you disappear from their reach and come back as someone they can't even look in the eye. That's what they fear. Not your fists. Not your words. They fear the version of you that doesn't need to explain anymore. The version that shows up dressed in power, carved from all the pain they laughed at, speaking only through silence and success. That's the punchline now. You. But let's not pretend like this was random. Oh no, you gave them chances. Too many. You gave them your heart, wide open, and they treated it like a joke they couldn't wait to ruin. You made excuses for them. Maybe they're going through something, you'd say. Cute, admirable, but foolish. Because the truth is, people don't destroy what they value. They destroy what they think they own. And they thought they owned you. Your emotions, your time, your worth. They tested how far they could go before you broke. You taught them it was okay. Every time you stayed. Every time you forgave without change. That's what built their confidence to treat you like trash. You see, monsters don't just happen. They're made. And sometimes they're made by people who smile at you while slowly tearing you apart with their bare hands. That's who they were. The architects of your pain. But here's the catch. They forgot one thing. Pain changes people. And it changed you. No more soft glances. No more checking if they're okay while you drown. You stopped waiting for an apology that was never coming. You stopped begging to be chosen in a room you should have walked out of. You started building. Quietly. Patiently. Out of spite? Maybe. Out of survival? Definitely. Because let's face it, survival's not always pretty. Sometimes it's brutal. Sometimes it means becoming the villain in someone else's story, just to be the hero in your own. That's where you're at now. Not broken. Not bitter. Better. And they can't recognize you anymore. Because you burned the version of you they could mock, and rose from the ashes as the kind of soul that doesn't even flinch when mentioned in their jokes. That's not healing. That's evolution. So what now, huh? You think I'm gonna tell you to forgive them? To find peace and closure? Nah, that ain't my style. My advice? Let your silence do the talking. Let your growth be the slap they never saw coming. Let your success echo so loudly they choke on their own laughter. Don't explain. Don't warn. Don't text back. Don't give them the honor of knowing they still got space in your mind. Because the real revenge, it's when they look at you and realize, They don't have access anymore. Not to your heart, not to your time, not even to your shadow. They'll scroll, stalk, regret, but you'll be too far ahead in a world they can't touch. That's the new punchline. And it ain't funny anymore. It's terrifying. You know, they laughed, didn't they? Not the innocent kind, the cruel kind, the kind that echoes long after the room's empty, the kind that sticks. You remember it, their smirks, their little whispers, those fake claps behind your back, and you stood there with all your effort, all your heart, and they just brushed it off, like you were the clown, like you were the punchline. But guess what? Every clown knows the trick. You see, it's not the smile that's real. It's the mask that hides the fire. And yours? It burned through every sleepless night, every fake "I'm okay." Every time you swallowed your pride just to keep peace. You gave them that version of you, the soft one, the loyal one, the real one. And they threw it in the dirt like it was cheap, like you were cheap. But let me tell you something cold, something sharp. They didn't break you. No, they built something they're not ready to meet. The moment they laughed, they birthed a monster with memory. And now you walk different. You breathe different. You calculate, don't you? No more chasing, no more waiting. You observe, you study. You let them forget while you prepare, quietly, brutally. You see, people don't fear pain. They fear the one who's been through it and still stands. Because now, you're not trying to fit in. You're not begging to be understood. You're not dressing your wounds for their comfort. You're letting it all bleed, letting it all speak. And pain, oh pain, it doesn't scream anymore, it smiles. Because that's what you are now. A smile with a scar behind it. And that scares them. They made a joke out of you, huh? Funny thing about jokes, they're remembered. And you're unforgettable now. Because the real punchline, it's not the clown they laughed at. It's the silence that follows. When that clown comes back, stronger, smarter, colder. You ever notice how they act now? Watching you from a distance, pretending like they don't see the shift. They see it. They feel it. The way you speak less. The way your eyes don't beg for their attention anymore. The way your presence suddenly changes the air. That's not arrogance, no. That's survival. That's what happens when pain teaches you everything love couldn't. You didn't ask for war, but they gave you every reason to train like it's coming. And now, you don't swing wild, you aim. You don't run, you plan. You don't cry, you build. And they feel it. That punchline they once mocked. It's now the intro to a legacy they'll wish they were part of. But it's too late. The joke's on them. Because You turned the clown into the ringleader. The streets know your silence now. The darkness, it doesn't scare you. It follows you. You walk through the same places they tried to bury you in. But now you own those places. And when you pass by, they don't laugh anymore. They lower their eyes. Because deep down, they know. They created this. They made you like this. And now, they can't undo it. You're not broken. You're reborn. Not soft. Not angry. Just focused. Cold. Dangerous. And the world? It finally has to take you seriously. Because you're not asking to be heard. You're making sure they listen. With results? With silence. With actions louder than any apology you'll never get. And that's the point. You don't need closure. You don't need validation. You don't even need their recognition. You need one thing: peace. And peace doesn't come from being loved. It comes from being unshakable. You want revenge? Don't get it by shouting. Get it by building. Get it by rising. Get it by making them regret the day they thought they could mock someone who was built for more. And when they hear your name now, they pause. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. Because you're untouchable. Because you stopped being the joke and became the reason they stopped laughing. You feel it? That sting in your chest? That ache you can't quite explain? That's what it feels like to be the joke. The one they all pointed at when they needed a good laugh. They didn't just laugh at your pain, no. They fed off it. You were their entertainment, and you took it. You swallowed your pride, bit down on your rage, and smiled like a good little puppet. They knew you were bleeding inside, but they wanted more. They wanted to see how far you'd bend before you break. And when you finally snapped, oh, they acted surprised. Like they didn't spend every day chipping away at your sanity for sport. But guess what, kid? That's where the story changes. Because the joke's not on you anymore. It's on them. And soon, they'll be choking on the punchline. You ever wonder why they chose you? Why it was you they laughed at? It's not 'cause you were weak. No. It's because you had something they didn't. Fire, depth, heart. And they couldn't stand it. See, people like that, they don't know what to do with realness. It scares them, so they break it. They isolate it. They slap a label on it and throw it to the wolves. You were different. You cared. You showed up when no one else did. You gave more than you had. And that made them uncomfortable. So instead of matching your energy, they mocked it. They mocked you. But here's the twisted beauty in that, my friend. When you've been the joke, you learn how to write the script. You learn how to own the pain. And that makes you dangerous. Let me tell you something real. Nobody ever respected a clown until the clown stopped laughing. Until he pulled off the paint, stared him in the eyes, and said, "Try me." That's where you are now. right at that edge, that lovely little line between who they thought you were and what you're about to become. You can feel it, can't you? That pressure in your ribs, like a storm you've been bottling up for years. That's not weakness. That's your rage learning how to walk. That's your silence growing teeth. You've been quiet for too long, patient, hoping they'd see your worth, but they never will. Not until you shove it down their throats. Not until you make them regret every smirk, every whisper, every time they pretended you weren't enough. They thought they broke you. But no, no, no. What they did was build you, piece by jagged piece. You're not soft anymore. You're not hoping anymore. You're not that old version of yourself who needed their approval, like oxygen. Nah. Now, you're the version that remembers. You remember every insult, every fake hug, every time they pretended to clap for you while praying you'd fail. And now, it's your move. And it ain't gonna be loud. It ain't gonna be messy. It's gonna be calculated, cold, surgical. Because that's how you make them fear the punchline. They don't even hear the setup coming. Let me break this down for you, real simple. They made you feel like a shadow. So now you become the storm. They painted you as weak. So now you show them what strength looks like when it's been starved too long. You don't fight like they expect. You don't scream. You don't beg. You build. Quietly. Relentlessly. While they're still stuck in circles, you draw straight lines to your target. You level up. You grind in silence. You let your scars speak when they try to act like you ain't earned your place. You become so damn focused, so undeniably great, they can't even say your name without remembering what they did. That's the goal, not revenge. No, something deeper, something more satisfying. You become the version of yourself that makes every one of them nervous when they hear you're coming. Because here's the truth. They never wanted the joke to rise. They wanted it to fold. They fed off your failure. It made them feel better about their own lives. But now, you flipped it. Now, they're checking their backs. Now, they're watching the same person they laughed at turn into the kind of problem nobody wants. And all you did was stop playing nice. All you did was remember who you are. Now get this burned into your head. Your silence is your power. Your grind is your weapon. Your pain, that's your story, your fuel, your armor. And when it all comes together, you won't need to say a damn word. Your presence alone will speak volumes, and they'll feel it in their bones, that chill, that regret, that realization that they messed with the wrong one, that the joke they made just became their worst nightmare. You ever realize how people only laugh when it's safe? Not when they're scared, not when they're cornered, just when they think you won't bite back. That's what they did to you, didn't they? Laughed, mocked, played their little game, threw your name around like it meant nothing. Because back then, You were soft. You were trying to be nice. You thought being kind would earn you loyalty. You thought being real would make people appreciate your depth. But, nah. They took all of that, chewed it up, and spat it back in your face. Turned your soul into a stage. Your pain, their entertainment, your silence, their signal to step harder, and you let it happen. You sat in the crowd, watching them rewrite your story, paint you like a clown, and you never stood up to scream, "That's not me," because maybe, just maybe, a part of you hoped they'd see it for themselves, that they'd stop, that they'd care. But care is extinct in their world. Compassion, that's weakness, and weakness gets eaten. They thought you were the punchline because you never punched back. You smiled when they talked over you. You stayed when they disrespected you. You gave love to people who didn't even respect your name. You handed them trust, and they shattered it like it was disposable. And now look at you, sitting in your own shadow, trying to make sense of a world that rewards fake over real, loud over loyal. But here's the twist they didn't see coming. The joke changed, and now you're the punchline that bites back. You're the one who doesn't laugh anymore, doesn't wait anymore, doesn't explain anymore. Because now you've been through the fire. And fire changes everything. You're not soft anymore. You're sharp. You're not kind anymore. You're calculated. You're not broken. You're rebuilding quietly, slowly. The kind of rebuild that makes people uncomfortable, because they know they can't get away with what they did the first time. You see, people don't fear pain. They fear consequences. They didn't fear losing you until you became someone they can't manipulate anymore. You became unreadable. And unreadable, that's dangerous. Because now they can't predict you, can't guilt you, can't make you dance to the same tune. And you finally understood that the silence they mocked is now the silence they can't survive. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them answers. You don't owe them anything. Not after what they did. Not after they made you doubt your worth, your heart, your sanity. Not after they called your loyalty a joke and wore your scars like trophies. But here's what really twists the knife. They still watch. Oh yeah, they're still lurking. Silent now, careful now. Watching you grow into the exact nightmare they never thought you'd become. And it eats them alive. 'Cause deep down, they know you're not the same person they walked over. They know the new you doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't chase. The new you doesn't ask why they left. He builds a kingdom so cold, their absence becomes irrelevant. That's power. Real power. Not loud, not flashy, just undeniable. You turn the game around without saying a word. Let them talk. Let them twist your name. Let them say you changed. They never knew you in the first place. What they saw was a version you crafted for survival. But now you're not surviving. You're taking control. Every bruise became a blueprint. Every scar became armor. Every night alone, a lesson. And now they see the shadow of the person they used to laugh at and feel something they never felt before. Fear. Because you're not angry. You're focused. You're not trying to prove anything anymore. You're just moving in silence, watching, calculating, waiting. And when you move, they'll wish they never picked you as their joke. Now stand up. You're not a clown anymore. You're the chaos they can't tame, the storm they can't outrun, the memory that haunts them. And every time they laugh now, it's not because they're happy, it's because they're nervous. Because deep down, they know you're not done. You're just getting started. They laughed, didn't they? Smirked behind your back, called you soft, weak, naive. You showed up with your heart in your hands, and they crushed it like a cheap cigarette under a boot. You offered them truth, loyalty, peace, and they turned it into their entertainment. But here's the twist, kid. The kind of twist that flips the whole damn story upside down. You're still standing. Bruised? Sure. Bleeding a little, maybe. But still. Freaking. Standing. And that terrifies them. See, people like them, they're not used to the ones they break surviving. They're used to clean exits, the kind of destruction that leaves no trace. But you stayed. You turned the silence they gave you into your own language. You turned the pain into armor. You walked through the mess they made. And instead of crying about it, you took notes. Now they can't look you in the eye, can they? Because your eyes remind them of what they did. Your silence reminds them of the war they thought you couldn't fight. You're not their joke anymore. You're the punchline that turned deadly. You're the one that makes them shift uncomfortably in their seats when your name gets mentioned. You're the reminder that they messed with the wrong person. Someone who doesn't break. Someone who rebuilds. And not quietly. No, loudly. Not with noise, but with presence. With steps that echo in empty halls they thought they'd filled with your ghost. You're not haunting them. You're hunting them. Big difference. But let's get real for a second, huh? This world, it rewards the masked, the fakers, the actors, people who smile through gritted teeth and stab with polished knives. You were too honest, too open, too you. And they hated that because truth is ugly, and people are addicted to pretty lies. They didn't make you a villain because you were wrong. They made you a villain because you were right. And right is dangerous in a world full of wrong people pretending to be righteous. They underestimated how deep your rage could run. Thought your kindness meant you didn't have claws. But here's the thing about people like you, the real ones. You don't go around showing your power. You carry it quiet. Until one day, boom. No more games, no more warnings, just cold revenge. No fireworks, just justice. And they won't even see it coming, because they're still stuck laughing at the version of you that doesn't exist anymore. Still cracking jokes about the clown, not realizing the clown is now the showrunner. And the show? Well, it's about to get real dark. You think it's too late to rise? You think you've lost too much to come back? Huh, kid. Comebacks are born in silence. They're forged in nights nobody sees, in rooms where you cry without making a sound. Comebacks aren't glamorous. They're grimy, painful, but they're real. And when you finally rise, and you will rise, don't you dare go looking for applause. Don't wait for the same hands that let go of you to clap when you're winning. Let your presence be the punishment. Let your silence be the lesson. Let your success be the revenge. And if they ever cross your path again, don't raise your voice. Just raise your eyebrows and walk right past. Because you've leveled up in ways they can't even comprehend. They made a joke out of you, huh? Well, now you're the nightmare that wears a grin. You're the one they fear in the silence, because nothing's scarier than a soul that died and came back without love in its heart. Cold, calm, calculated. You're not the fool anymore. You're the architect, the one who builds from ashes, the one who turned betrayal into fuel. And fear? Fear now sits with them, because they know you're no longer interested in mercy. You're interested in balance, in payment, in making sure the same ones who laughed cry. You ever notice how the loudest laughs come from the ones with the deepest pain? Like your smile's been duct taped onto your face just to stop the screams from leaking out. Yeah, I know that look. You wear it well. They mocked you, played you like a clown, turned your kindness into comedy. And now, you're scared to care, scared to help, scared to even feel. Because every time you did, they used it as fuel to burn you alive in public. Ain't it funny how fast they flip the script? First, you're the one who listens, the one who shows up, the one who stays loyal. And next thing you know, you're the punchline they crack over drinks with strangers who don't even know your damn name. But here's where the comedy ends and the horror begins. You've been rewriting yourself in silence. They thought they buried a joke, but they forgot that pain sharpens. Every insult carved out the softness. Every betrayal stripped off the illusions. You ain't the same clown they used to laugh at. You're the storm behind the painted smile now. Let's talk real. You were too soft, too trusting, too damn hopeful. You kept thinking they'd change, that one day they'd see the real you, the one behind the favors, behind the I'm fine lies, behind the eyes that scream, just don't hurt me again. But they didn't, because people don't change when they're comfortable. They only change when the cost of staying the same finally outweighs the ease of pretending. You, my friend, were free therapy. You were the bridge they burned just to light their way out of their own darkness. And when they crossed safely, they looked back, not with gratitude, not with guilt, but with jokes, mocked the same hands that pulled them out of hell. You gave them a stage, and they turned your silence into a script. Well, guess what? Now it's your show. Curtains up. And you ain't playing the fool this time. You're the director of the damn chaos. See, they forgot something crucial. When you mock a wounded man long enough, he stops bleeding and starts biting. That's where you're headed. You're building something dangerous inside. Discipline born from despair. Cold logic from every emotional scar. They laughed when you were human, but they'll run when they see what you became. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped begging to be understood. You stopped watering dead flowers and started sharpening your edges. And now they feel it. The silence. It's loud. It's unsettling. Because silence from the one who always cared means something's brewing. Something they ain't ready for. You know what the real punchline is? The joke was never on you. It was on them. They thought kindness was weakness. They thought silence was submission. But in reality, you were calculating, watching, learning. Every joke taught you how they think. Every betrayal taught you who not to be. You didn't break. You just cracked in all the right places, like armor reforged in fire. They see it now, in your eyes, in your walk, in your absence. They feel the regret scratching at their throats, but it's too damn late. Because you're not coming back. Not to fix, not to explain. Not to be their entertainment. The only version of you that returns now is the one they can't predict. The one that don't smile back. The one that's got nothing to lose and everything to build from the ashes. Let that be the fear they carry every night. Let them choke on their own punchlines. You don't need revenge. You don't need to bark. Your silence, it's the sound of construction, of a beast being built in the shadows, of a man who finally understands that peace is more powerful than pity. You've cried enough. You've screamed into enough pillows. Now you just move different. You speak less, move smarter, trust slower. And next time they see you, they'll recognize the eyes, but the soul, unreachable, unreadable, and utterly untouchable.